Grown Folks Production. In the mix. With the commish, Nate.
And welcome to Press Pass Live, your weekly OMFL podcast show. I am your host, the commish, Nate. Let me welcome in my buddy, your coach of the Detroit Lions, the Super Bowl winning Detroit Lions, Coach Trey. How you doing today on a Monday, bud?
I'm doing good. The NHL game drops tomorrow at 10 p.m. Eastern.
Nice.
And, hold on. Let me check this. The Detroit Lions sit on top of the NFC North. Oh, it can't be better.
It doesn't get much better than that. I had a terrible weekend of football for my birthday. It was something I just want to wipe from my memory and act like it didn't even happen. But today, we do have the return of the OMFL News with a brand new host. I cannot wait for you to jump into it with me. I can't wait to get into it. So let's do that right now. We're going to go ahead and recap week number 9. There were some interesting games, so to speak, in this week, like the Kansas City Chiefs beating the Miami Dolphins 28-26. These teams scored a combined 27 points. I'm sorry, I can't do math or talk. 27 points in the fourth quarter. That dynamic offense for the Miami Dolphins was held slightly in check. Got to give it to Kansas City. They're turning heads. We got to start talking about them really, really soon as they continue to make waves. The Arizona Cardinals beat the Cleveland Browns 24-17. Another what I would consider a bit of a shocker that week. And then Seattle beats Baltimore. I think this one might not have been actually played. I think this one might have been a sim game or a CPU game. It's just there's something weird going on in that one. And look at Black Cats and the Carolina Panthers falling 26-27 against the Red Hot Condors. Tough game, but man, he fought him all the way to the bitter end. Almost got a victory against one of the better teams, the OMFL. And then I wrap up my Week 9 recap with the Buffalo Bills and Cincinnati Bengals. Two guys that I think we have not talked a lot about this Madden cycle. It's early. We're halfway through the first season, season 106. But these guys are forming quite the rivalry. The Cincinnati Bengals win that one 17-16. It was a defensive matchup there in the second half. It seems like a lot like my games. A lot of scoring goes on early, and then all of a sudden the defense pick up in that second half, and Cincinnati escapes from home with a victory against Bill and the Buffalo Bills. Let's take a look at week number 10. For that, I'm going to turn it over to you, Trey.
We have those soaring hot Condors taking an L to the New England Patriots, 27-24.
Game of the week. You can go back and watch that stream as well.
Yeah, you called that, didn't you?
I did. You were watching the Lions win, so you couldn't join me.
Yeah, that's too busy with that one. Mac Jones goes and throws 3 interceptions, but also throws 3 touchdowns for 378 yards. Pretty impressive. Another highlight of the week, Nate gets it might be against struggling deep in the gap in his Vikings, but Nate pulls out a 20-14 win. Starting to maybe puzzle things together with the run game, I'm assuming. Maybe defensively. You got a win, though.
I did get a win.
A shootout, I think, would probably be more higher scoring matchup.
Twice, too. Like, we were watching this game. These guys did this exact score almost twice. I had to throw that in there.
Yes. The Pittsburgh Steelers win over the Green Bay Packers 55-45. That's 100 points, Nate. We're playing
crazy.
Like 10-minute quarters. They're averaging like 10 points a minute. It sounds like it's just ridiculous. Another divisional matchup that was a nice sight to see was the Cleveland Browns beating the Baltimore Ravens 40-37. A little bit of a shocker here. I didn't think it was going to be a blowout, but the Seahawks win 42-24 over the Commanders. Meek's been slowly getting hit and miss since the return of D-Money, but found a bit of a hot streak again. So let's see how long that can last.
I agree. I did not expect that one to go that way. I actually talked to Bird that night, and it just unraveled for him pretty quickly. Let me take a quick look at Week 11. We're going to be wrapping this one up tonight with 2 games at 8 p.m. Eastern. The Cincinnati Bengals get a 35-21 victory over Nipples and the Baltimore Ravens. I don't know if he's back yet, if this was a CPU game. I can never keep up with Mr. Nips over there. Chicago 42, the Detroit Lions 38. I didn't get to watch all of this one, but I did poke my head in and out. This was a really good game. 5 turnovers combined for both of these teams. But the difference in this game, 4 offensive red zone touchdowns, 3 for the Detroit Lions, but with 1 field goal, so they fall just short to what is a very hot rivalry.
That's not the difference in this game. The difference is the ending of the first half and the start of the second half. I was in field, like, it was a chip shot. I go, think it's easy kick. The Bears block it for a touchdown. Now, I'm going, great. My what would be 3-point lead is now a 7-point deficit. I start the second half off with a kick return touchdown.
Yeah. That's the worst. I mean, that's a 14-point swing. That's the worst.
That's a 17-point swing. I had
yeah, true. That's true. That's true.
I could have been up 10.
Yeah, it's a gut punch because like both of those feel sort of out of your control. There's only so much that you can actually do there. My next game up was the Arizona Cardinals falling to the Houston Texans. The Commish Bowl, 23-20. Both of these guys just going at it in a classic game. This should be another one of those instant classic games that you turn in. If you haven't, guys, 5 turnovers, but 4 of them came for the Arizona Cardinals in that game. Jacksonville falls to Tennessee 24-34. I'm not sure what happened to the Jaguars. They felt like they started out red hot. They definitely cooled off. Miami getting some redemption after the loss the previous couple of weeks, 41-25 over the Las Vegas Raiders. Washington getting back on the winning track, 30-24 over the New York Giants. And then Denver and Minnesota, 39-34. Denver comes away with a victory. There was 25 points scored in the second half, and that's when you just feel the game slipping out of your fingers. You're like, what am I supposed to do right now? Like, it's just getting away from me. I'm sitting here flipping through these things thinking everybody can see them, and I don't have it on the right screen, but now you can see them. 4 combined third down conversions, or 4 third down conversions for the Minnesota Vikings. The turnovers, though, 6 combined for both of these teams. Not quite sure what's, Deep just can't quite put all the pieces together. And I think, one good draft, one good solid draft, I'm hoping that he can turn things around because it could be a really good game. Maniac says that might have been a CPU game, which could be. I don't know. I can't keep up with all the CPU games. Let's take a look forward, though. Trey, take it away for week number 12.
All right, so week 12 happens to be our favorite week in the OMFL because it's OMFL Turkey Week, as I'll call it. And it just so happens that it lined up perfectly this year with how the real-life schedule is for 3 amazing Thanksgiving Day matchups. Me versus Priest would technically start the day. You have Bird versus Mr. Wayne in the middle of the day. And at the end of the day, you have one Mr. D-Money versus one Mr. Meek.
It's a good slate of games.
If this was real-life Thanksgiving, that's just great. And then we also have an interesting Black Friday matchup between Mr. Kobe Harris and Mr. Massimo of the Dolphins. Another interesting game in this slate of scheduling is going to be the Panthers and the Titans. Those are 2 teams that are hit and miss, but if they can catch a nice stream of momentum, they will be off and running and a chance for a potential playoff spot.
Let's take before we go to week number 13, I actually want to pause right there. Let's get over here and let's listen to some OMFL news from one of our brand new contributors. He's not brand new here. You'll notice the voice. Here's OMFL news with our new content creator, Mr. Denver.
Welcome. The OMFL news is back. Coach Denbrew this time bringing you the news. We're going to take a look in the next two segments at the AFC and the NFC standings. We're wanting to see, it's week 11 here in season 106 of the OMFL, and we're wanting to see who's going to stick around, who's going to make that late playoff push, who's already making plans for the playoffs, who's got some of the divisions possibly darn near already wrapped up, right? There's a couple of teams that have some nice leads in their division, and there's a couple of other divisions that are still super tight, still waiting to be sorted out. We'll cover those two in the next two segments. Thanks for having me. Stick around, and I will be back shortly.
And there you have it, Mr. Denbrew, making it happen over here for us. We appreciate him. I'm glad to have the OMFL news back in Adam. Mr. Maniac, I see he's in the chat. He's done some OMFL news for us in the past. I'm ready to see a highlight video. I feel like it's been too long for a highlight video. Let's get over here and look at week number 13. We're going to keep this kind of string of really good games going. The Seahawks and the Cowboys, a pivotal kind of stretch of games here for the Cowboys, who continue to kind of show their dominance in the NFC, but he's got a pivotal game kind of running through here. Seahawks and Cowboys. That's going to be a really great matchup. Chargers and Patriots. Patriots look to have some things figured out, but you know what? The Chargers, I think they're going to be one of the teams that benefits the most from finally finding some sliders that help bring pressure. This could be a really, really fun game. Falcons and Jets, this might be your game of the week. Maniac's got those Falcons red hot. Kobe is who Kobe is, man. He's going back over to Atlanta after leaving Atlanta for the Big Apple, and now he's coming back to face Maniac. Two red hot teams, two very good offenses, two very good defense. That's got some game of the week material written all over it. Panthers and Buccaneers in a pivotal NFC South matchup. That could be a really, really fun game to watch as well. Browns and Rams has some potential to be fun. The Browns, Lil Koch still trying to figure out some things. He kind of went all in on the rebuild at quarterback. Tim, he's just frustrated, and I'm hoping that he can get some things turned around over there. And the Chiefs and Packers, quietly, our guy Luka has stepped up to the plate and made his team relevant. And Priest, well, he's going to go out there gunslinging. He's putting up tons of points. He's playing really, really good football. That could be another game of the week potential. Let's take a look at week number 14. I don't know what kind of rat my guy Trey has over there. I've got Tim stuck in my head. I couldn't come up with Trey. It was like I'm just thinking about Tim, but that got me. I was all knocked off of my route over here. Take a look at week number 14.
We've got another pivotal matchup in that NFC South with Mr. Kevin going up against Maniac and the potential division leader at that point. Yeah, could be interesting to find out. Coming off our amazing week.
Welcome.
Hold on, Trey.
Coach Tim Brutus
something's screwed up here. Hold on.
We're going to take
the
a look at the next two
OMFL news
segments
is
of the AFC
randomly
and the
playing, but we got it turned off. I apologize about that. Go ahead, Trey.
All right. So I'll just repeat that in case anybody didn't hear. Buccaneers and Falcons in Week 14 could be a very pivotal matchup in the terms of the division lead. Another division lead kind of scenario coming into play could very well be another rematch between Mr. Hurt and myself. Your Panthers and Saints matchup could be very interesting. We got another Seahawks and 49ers matchup in Week 14. That could be very, very interesting. You have to look also to the Chiefs versus... Yes. You have to also look towards the Chiefs and the Bills to be a very pivotal matchup. And finally, you have to also look at the NFC East Cowboys and Eagles game as a marquee matchup.
There's going to be some good ones in there. Let's get over to OMFL News, the second segment, as my computer... Yeah, I was doing some video editing today, so my computer is not very happy with me right now, but I think we're doing okay. Let's get over to Denbrew's second OMFL News.
We are back, segment 2. Going to take a look at the standings here. We're going to start in the AFC. In the North, my goodness, the Steelers 9-0. have nearly 400 points of offense, only giving up just a little over 200. They have been dominant. They are rolling right along. Let's roll over to the AFC South. I spoke about some teams that have the division pretty much already wrapped up. The Condors would have to fall on their face to not win this division. They are 8-2. They're rolling. They got the run game going. The Jags, the Titans, and the Texans all sitting at 2-8 would have to absolutely catch fire, and the Condors would have to have a catastrophic failure to not win this division. In the AFC East, Kobe and his Jets are rolling. They're 10-0. He's got a great offense. He's got nice balance there. He's almost outscored his opponents by 150 points on the year. It's a nice spread there. Bills definitely in the wild card hunt, and he's still not out of the division. He's 8-3. The Buffalo Bills and Bill. Over in the West, Shocks fan, 8-2, having a nice season. Got that offense rolling. He's thrown up 346 points. Chargers not out of it. They're at 5-5. That will take care of the AFC. I will be back shortly. We'll take a look at the NFC. Stay tuned.
Thank you, Mr. Denbrew, for our second segment here of the OMFL News. Let's get over here and start talking about stardom or sit-em. And this is something new that we're trying. I want to talk about if we're thinking about the playoffs. The playoffs are right around the corner. By the time we're back with you next Monday, we're going to have really crisp, clear idea of like who's contending and who's not. And we're going to start our kind of playoff prediction conversations and maybe even a little hot seat action. I'll tell you more about that later. But I just want to run through a couple of teams, and Trey and I are going to go start them or sit them. We're going to start them if we think that they are a true contender that will make the playoffs, or sit them if we think that they might be a fraud and why. And man, there are some really, really good teams for us to go through and talk about. And I want to get it started with one guy that we always seem to be a hot button topic around here, and I want you to get going with it. The Green Bay Packers. Start them or sit them?
Not only sit them, throw them off the ship. It's the second half of the season. This is where Priest always seems to choke away the season. We have no history to prove us that that's going to change. It's already started. He already took a big L versus the Chargers this week. It looks probably like we're already seeing second half Priest show up instead of first half.
I'm going out on a limb here, and I'm going to say stardom, and here's why. 24 points in Week 7, 44, 33, 45. He did lose last night, 24-10. It was a tough loss against the Steelers. He was actually in the lead late in that game before a crazy DC happened. I think he has an opportunity to turn it around, but his next couple of games are going to go a long way. He's got which that game is always going to be tight, could go either way, the flip of a coin. He's got Kansas City that's going to be legit. Who knows what he's going to get out of Colin? It feels like Colin might have a couple things figured out. Kevin is rocking and rolling. The Panthers, Vikings, Bears. That's a tough schedule, but I got to go on a limb and just finally give our guy Priest some credit. I'm going to say stardom. Next up are going to be the Miami Dolphins. So we're going to start them or sit them. What do you think about the Miami Dolphins?
Mossy, not a joke to be fooled around with. Yes, he's last OMFL Bull didn't go the way he'd hoped, but he's proven that he can get there. And at a 7-3 record, I very much feel like this is a stardom.
I'm going to sit him, and here's why. Just because of the schedule. He's got Jets next, Commanders. Bird's going to be a contender. I'm telling you. Titans, we never know what's going to happen with Truth. He should win that game. He's going to be favored in that game. But listen to this final stretch. He's got Kobe again with the Jets, D-Wayne with the Cowboys, Nipple with the Ravens, and then he finishes off the season with Bill and his Bills. That is a tough, tough way to end the season, and he's going to be playing really good defenses. Commanders, Jets twice, Cowboys, Ravens, Bills, all teams known for their defense. They might be able to hold that offense back just enough to get a lead. I'm going to go sit them with the Miami Dolphins. Up next, we got the Kansas City Chiefs. I told you we were going to talk about this guy. Man, he has done such a great job this season. I'm super proud of him for getting this team rocking and rolling. Are you starting or sitting the Kansas City Chiefs?
It's a 100% start. He's pulling away with the division at this point. He's got now Pepper and the Chargers chasing him, but they're sitting 3 games back. He's we've got 7 games left in the season? 6-7 games left. So he's at a magic number of 4. That's very easy for him to do.
And he has a favorable, I don't know why I can't talk today, but we'll get it together, favorable matchup or ending of his schedule. I would also say start him. He's got the Raiders. They're going to always play a really good game. Packers, we were talking about Priest. You never know what you're going to get there. A lot of offensive power there. Bill and his Bills, and then it lightens up a little bit. Patriots, can loss continue kind of some momentum that he found against the Condors. The Raiders, the Bengals, and the Chargers. These are winnable games. They will not be easy. There are no easy games in the OMFL, but I am going to go ahead and agree with you and say start him. I think he's the one that can make it with this schedule. Let's talk about the Atlanta Falcons. I've been singing his praises for quite some time. He just continues to impress us even before he got his franchise quarterback. I feel like I need to go, grab one of his backup quarterbacks. Maybe he'll be able to win for me. Are you starting the Atlanta Falcons or are you sitting him?
I'm very much giving him the start. He's showing that he's got a well-balanced team. And he can pass the ball efficiently and run the ball efficiently. And he's in a division race for first, and he's also way ahead in lead for terms of wild card, being I think he is the top 6 seed. Or that'd be the 5th seed in the wild cards as it currently stands. I don't see him trailing off too much, especially given the Falcons have a very easy schedule in terms of teams to play against.
So you call this easy. I call it a little complicated because he's got the Jets, the Bucks, the Condors, and the Bears. Those are not going to be easy teams to win against. I will say start them with a bit of a caveat, and it depends on what happens with the San Francisco 49ers. I don't think he wins the division. I think he's going to split with the Bucks. I think he's going to need a wild card, and who knows what the 49ers are going to do as they try to come roaring back from the hole that they've dug themselves in. It's going to be a fun matchup. I'm going to say start them, but I don't agree that this is an easy schedule. I think those are some really tough teams that he's got to wrap up with. And let's go back to your division, a couple of guys from your division, and talk about what I think is quickly becoming your number one foe, and that is the Chicago Bears. Do you start to the Chicago Bears in Big Hurt? He feels like he's got things figured out, or are you sitting him?
I'm starting him. He's more than likely going to walk away with the division. He's built enough of a gap where he's got 2 games on Priest, with also I think he's beaten him in the previous time. He's got the one up on me, and he's got a 3-game gap on me. I think it's going to be an easy walk-in for Mr. Hurt in the Bears.
I also think out of all of the teams that we've looked at today, he might have the easiest schedule out of all of them. Again, there are no easy games in the NFL, but I do believe this might be one of the easier ones. He's got the Minnesota Vikings. They're still trying to find their first win. Bit of a pause with you after a bye week, though. We'll have to see if he got some rust that you're going to have to knock off. You got the Browns, Cardinals, Falcons, Packers. Again, not easy, but easier from all the other teams that we've talked about. I'm going to also say start him because of the big game lead that he has. I'm still waiting to see your Lions turn it on. You could play spoiler and maybe even make a run at a late wild card. I don't think that you're completely out of it just yet. I say start him, but he's going to have to make sure he finishes this season strong. All right, let's open up the OMFL mailbag.
Very favorable back half of the schedule.
Yeah, it sets up pretty well for him.
We both have very favorable back half of the schedule. That's crazy.
Let's get over here to Denbrew's last OMFL news. After this, we're going to open up the OMFL mailbag. Now's the time to get your questions in if you have them. Turn it over to Denbrew. Take it away.
Welcome back to the third and final segment of OMFL News on Press Pass Live. Here we go. Let's take a look at the NFC. We've already covered the AFC standings. We got the Chicago Bears coming in at 8-3, and the Packers and Lions both challenging at 6-4 and 5-5, respectively. Down in the South is a great race here. You got Kevin and his Buccaneers sitting at 8-1, Maniac and his Falcons at 8-2. This one's not over. It's going to take a few more weeks to figure this one out. The NFC East, I'm going to go ahead and call it. It's over. D. Wayne and his Cowboys sitting at 9-1. They got a commanding lead over the Eagles, the Giants, and the Commanders. NFC West, I'm not calling this one because I never count out the 49ers, but Mink Boy is having a great season in Seattle, sitting at 8-1. Joker at 4-6-1. And the always lurking D-Money sitting at 4-5. We will not count him out. That is all I've got for this week. Thank you for listening.
There we have it, Mr. Denbrew coming through with the OMFL news. I always like just a different perspective, a different voice, a different idea. So I appreciate all the guys who participated in that over the years, and for Denbrew giving it a crack. And I'm ready to do that. All right, let's open up the OMFL mailbag here, Trey. There's a lot to discuss here. Pepper's getting us started. He says, is this just a year where generating a pass rush is going to be difficult no matter what sliders we use? Any suggestions for those of us who are having problems like switching from a 4-3 to a 3-4? I personally, before I open it up to Trey to get some input, I do believe we can fix it, and I believe we took a major step towards that in these last few games. I did some big time slider adjustment. I'm going to tweak it just a hair more. We started to find the floor. I think we got to find the floor and then settle in somewhere in between. But just like the run game, this is an issue with us going all pro. And I know all Madden has its warts and why we didn't go all Madden, but the game, I think, has been built for all Madden mode, and all pro just takes a whole lot more adjusting than what we were ready for. And I think we are getting there. But you have any suggestions, Trey, for guys trying to find some pressure, such as switching to 3-4, 4-3, maybe starting a different style of player? Any kind of suggestions you have?
It's going and switching from 4-3 to a 3-4. It comes at a risk, especially if you don't have the right personnel for it. If you're a 3-4 team, but you don't have coverage linebackers, you don't have, two pass rushing defensive tackles, you're going to put yourself in hindrance than you are already. And vice versa. If you're in a 4-3, switching to the 3-4, if you don't have pass rushing outside linebackers, you don't have a no-stuffing defensive tackle and two middle linebackers to help cover, you're just going to be in the same problem you already are. In terms of getting pass rush, you got to mix things up and run the occasional stunt blitzes, and it's a very tough year to get the pass rush, which makes it more of a challenge. Obviously, from what we've been told now, we're getting some changes to hopefully open up that pass rush a bit. We'll see what happens with these new slider changes, and might have to have this conversation, 3 or 4 passes from now.
Yeah, our numbers sack leader wise don't look half bad. And I don't have the NFL total numbers to kind of compare to where we are. I think we all agree, though, it's maybe less to do with sacks and more to do with actual pressure. And you guys are just able to sit back there all night long and pick apart defenses, and we're seeing some high-scoring games. I do feel like we've gotten there. I've had some conversations. I feel like a slight more tweaking. I'm going to let week number, what are we going to, 12? What are we going to? I don't even remember what we're on, but we're going to let the next
12.
week. And we're going to let 12 run all the way through, look at some numbers, then have a couple of conversations, hopefully make any more tweaks then, and then let it ride for the rest of the season. But I am hoping that we are moving in the right direction for everybody. Mr. Maniac said, if you were able to pick one player from any team, who would it be? It can be a Madden-generated player or a real-life player. There's a good question. If you could pick anybody from any team, who are you taking?
Darnell Washington from the Pittsburgh Steelers.
That seems a little random. Why?
Having a 6 foot, 7 or 8 inch target just sounds fun. I want to experience that.
I'm torn because I feel like if you're making this decision, you need to take into consideration cap and cap management. So my knee jerk would say Patrick Mahomes, maybe one of these import rookie quarterbacks. I just don't know them that well. So I think if I just had to pick, maybe I'm going like a Micah Parsons, like a player that can both cover and get after the quarterback, still on a pretty team-friendly deal. I think Micah Parsons might be a ton of fun to have, but I also have tons of quarterback problems, so I probably 100%, if this was an option, go and pick a quarterback from somebody. I think all of us would probably just swap a bunch of quarterbacks around. Mr. Maniac says, who's been the more surprising team, Green Bay, Condors, or someone else? This is a really good question. I'm kind of torn, but I would say, oh man, I don't even, as I was about to pick one, I'm very surprised at what the Condors are doing with that roster. You could also say the same for the Steelers. Good players. One was in a Super Bowl with a team that we also all agreed probably most of us couldn't win with, but what the Condors are, how dominant they are at both of those lines, that's shocking to me. I would not have guessed that the Indianapolis Colts had such a powerful offensive line and defensive line, even though I am very impressed by what Priest is doing with the Green Bay Packers. I would have to say the Condors. What do you think, Trey?
Yeah, it has to be the Condors. We talked about this all through season 105 about how since he took a rough Colts roster and went and won an OMFL Bowl, that roster was extremely more rough than built off of it. And here we go, got them contending for another spot in the AFC division leaders list, and then potentially a playoff run. That's a team that outside of Jonathan Taylor doesn't have many offensive, and on defense outside of DeForest Buckner and Shaq Leonard doesn't really have anything else there. And the fact that he's dominating is, you got round of applause. Just got to give a round of applause.
Mr. Shocks fan coming through with a question. He says, through week 11, there are 12 teams that are in the OMFL that are on pace for 12 or more wins. Do you think that this sets up for unpredictable playoffs, or will we see the same dominant owners come playoff time? Here are the teams: Jets, Bucks, Steelers, Cowboys, Seahawks, Bengals, Bills, Falcons, Condors, Chiefs, Bears, Dolphins. I think those are going to be all of the teams. What do you think about this? Do you think this is going to set up for an unpredictable playoff run, or we're going to see some of these master teams kind of float back to the tippy top?
I mean, with the exception of D-Money, those are the guys that are normally there, so it's nothing really surprising.
I would say there are a couple of surprising teams in there. The Buccaneers, we haven't seen them make a real run, have good seasons, but making a real run, I'm not sure that we've seen that. We haven't seen it from Meek. Good team, had some big wins. Haven't seen them actually go on a run. We haven't seen Maniac in quite some time make a run. The Condors, that's a brand new team. The Chiefs, there are a couple of teams in here that I think could definitely cause waves. Yes, a lot of those names we're used to, but also this group has pretty much stayed together for quite some time, so I think we're kind of used to seeing those names up there. But I think there are some teams that could definitely make things super unpredictable. Falcons, Condors, Chiefs, just to name a couple of them. They could cause waves. They could knock off some big boys. You just never know, man. When you load up this game, you have a plan going into it, and things can go haywire. And it was a perfect example with our game of the week this past week where our guy lost Sniper, taking chances, and it paid off big for him. He gets a big victory against the Condors. D-Money, wrapping us up. This is the last one for today. Pick a team from each conference not currently leading their division that you think can make a Super Bowl or make the Super Bowl, make a run to the Super Bowl. So a team not currently winning their division that can make a run to the Super Bowl. Let's see if I can give you some realistic options. That's going to be Bengals in the AFC North. There's really no one realistically in the AFC South. The Bills and Dolphins in the AFC East. You might be able to squeeze the Patriots in there. I just don't see all 4 teams being able to. Well, it's not physically possible. So, yeah, they can't make it in there. Yeah, all of them? How could they all make it? Because there's only 2 wild cards.
There's 3 wild cards, Nate.
Is there really? I'm losing my mind over here. Okay, AFC West.
The bye week.
Maybe the Chargers. You probably put the Chargers in there. So let's just talk AFC, just to keep it easy right now. Out of those teams, what team do you think could shock the world, not winning their division right now, and make a run to the Super Bowl?
I mean, it's the obvious answer. It's the Bengals and Denver. He's been to numerous ones in 2-3 Madden cycles. He's with his team. He only got an unfortunate loss on a tie, but it's still Denver and the Bengals. How is he not going to be, the leading candidate for this question of the AFC?
It's got to be, right? If I had to pick somebody else, it would not shock me if the Dolphins went on a run. That offense is starting to click. They can put up tons of points on anyone. Would not shock me if Bill went on a run with his team. Like, those would be the other 2 candidates I think could realistically make it, but you got to put your money on the horse that's been there before. Let's go over to the NFC. So those teams not currently leading their division: Packers, Lions, Falcons, Commanders, and Cardinals, 49ers. Who out of that list it could realistically make a run to the Super Bowl?
Depending on if either one of us can make it, I think the 2 obvious answers are the 2 guys that have recently been there, being D-Money and myself. But I wouldn't throw Maniac completely under the bus. He's finding his rhythm and he's getting things going. So if I had to go with, an answer of just one, I'm going to say Maniac because he's in the best position to make that run.
Yeah, I too would say the Falcons. I think that they have their franchise quarterback, franchise running back. He's got that defense playing great. If I were to name 2 other teams, the shocker would be the Packers. I think that they would be kind of what the Dolphins were a couple of seasons ago when they went on their magical run. And I would also throw the Commanders out there. Now, he's struggling, and I think will be one of those teams as we find pressure in our league as a whole, his team will benefit from, because that defensive line is just can wreck folks any type of game. You just load in, you got a plan, you think you know what you're doing, and all of a sudden you just get wrecked on the offensive line. The Commanders could be one of those teams that we think that I think could shock a lot of people if they had an opportunity. All right, let me make sure. Yep, there's no more questions. Trey, that's going to bring us to the end of the show. Why don't, why is this, hold on a second. I don't know why this is doing this, but we're going to get it flopped back over here. It's playing on my phone. It's supposed to be playing on my computer. Let's wrap up the show. Give me one final closing thought as we put a bow on things.
Have we seemingly found out how to stop the Jonathan Taylor freight train that was running through all of us?
Yeah.
His numbers are slowly climbing, but it's crazy. The numbers that of him just, it was seeming like he was putting up 200 games like it was, like he was opening a book or something. And now it's like
crazy.
Slowly getting yards. Impressive to everybody that's figured out how. Bravo.
Watching him the first game, the first play of the game against the Patriots, I mean, just 85, left side, untouched. It's just, it's that offensive line. He's great. And clearly Bronco Man is a good coach, but that offensive line is just opening up large spaces for him to run through pretty easily. 18 touchdowns, a 7.7 average. You are right, he has slowed down quite a bit. He did miss a game against me a couple of weeks ago, but this guy is just a monster, and he's feeding him like a monster. He's got 200 carries already, over 200 carries on the season. We need a D&D show. Dungeons and Dragons? What do you think he's talking about? I don't know what you're talking about, Big Hurt. You have to fill me in on what.
D&D show.
Maybe he means Dungeons and Dragons.
Money and D-Wayne?
Oh, a down in distance. Oh, see. Okay, I see what you did there. Okay, all right. Yes, we do. I love content, and it's been a little bit since we've had one of those shows, so we need to get you guys to get us another one. Closing thoughts. We're going to have a hot seat hopefully next week. I've already got one owner who tried to get on this week, but he said next week, so hopefully we can get him on next Monday. Also, this weekend, my wife is gone Friday and Saturday, so I've got a ton of content planned, including some shows about how to use Neon Sports to the best of your ability, like how to use the codes, how to find things, all of the cool, reputation stuff that Maniac made a video about. I'm going to point people towards that. It'll be a fun way to kind of just talk about Neon Sports and the things that it does. I plan on doing some Game of the Weeks again, so hopefully we can do that. It'll be a ton of fun. I just can't wait to jump into it. Guys, happy Monday. I hope that you are all doing well and having a great start to your week. It has been a stressful couple of weeks for me. I'm waiting to unwind. Took a couple of days off last week. It didn't quite get me there, but at least started the process. Tomorrow, I literally will be traveling for 20 hours. It's going to be terrible. I'm going to Chicago at 4 o'clock in the morning, training all day, and then flying back at midnight that night. It is going to make for a brutal day, but I'll be right back here on Wednesday, and hopefully I can do a show either Thursday or Friday for a game of the week. Be a ton of fun. Trey, thanks for hanging out with me today. Happy Monday, everybody. Do me a favor. Make sure you hit the like button. Helps us out a ton. I love and appreciate you guys, and we'll see you on the next one. Peace.
Smash that like and subscribe.